To
Jimmy
an
just got
early
on
week
here.
edition of the Garden Report. Me and Jimmy both here in our gray
What's up,
shirts,
Bobby?
getting ready for a big week. Jimmy, this is gonna be a crazy week. I think I keep hearing so many rumors, so much chatter
Oh,
out
what are you
there
hearing?
about.
What are you hearing, man?
You get the Zion
You
stuff
got the
floating
scuttlebutt?
around, Celtics reports flying. I knew we had to get on here tonight because there's just so much
You were
chatter.
itching. I think you were gonna go solo.
I was about to go
I
solo,
couldn't let that
unfortunately.
happen. I had to come from the clouds and save you from that
Well, the people have been waiting to
situation.
hear from you. Obviously,
That's not
the
true.
Bradley
Don't
Beal went down. The
don't pump my
Bradley Beal
tires like
trade
that.
went down. And I don't know, you seemed like someone who was interested in that from a Celtics perspective. Gave some thought to it at the very least. And when you see this return they got for him, the Wizards, that is, Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, some seconds, swaps, you can't help but think, man, could the Celtics have gotten in on this for that cheap price?
I can't imagine that they would have passed up like an equally horrible deal. So the problem is Bradley Beal has a no trade clause. I can't imagine he would say no to the Celtics to play with his good buddy Jason Tatum. But I can't get over this trade. It's the worst. It's one of the worst trades I've seen in a long time. Maybe the worst. Like if you're a Wizards fan and you just denounced your fandom like yesterday, like I wouldn't even blame you for that. Because the Wizards
How could you
obviously
not?
they made a couple, they made some mistakes, right? I mean, they held on to Beal a couple years, or at least 1 year too long. They never had a team that was really a legitimate contender. I know that they've dealt with some injuries here and there, Beal being one of them. But these guys were never more than a fringe playoff team for the last X amount of years, right? And never changed. They always figured out a way to beat the Celtics, even when they were horrible. But they just weren't legit. And it's not even really a knock on Beal. I don't really know. Obviously the Beal era will go down as a failure in the end. But I think he's still got enough left. I still think he can score. Like he's one of the better scorers in the league. He's not a complete player. His defense obviously lacks, and he's hasn't really shown that he can win. Obviously, but can he help the Suns? And will he? Absolutely. I mean, they're putting together a little bit of a super team there, I guess, while they still can, right before the CBA probably prevents a lot of that stuff from really happening.
And I
Um,
love that because I think this is my take on it, Jimmy, and I know John disagrees. I feel like this CBA stuff and the penalties and all the chatter about, oh, you're going to be killed if you do this. It's all owners, in my mind, wanting to spend less. They're effectively putting a hard cap in if teams do a wide variety of scenarios. And if you're hard capped, and I think a lot of teams do this, you can say, oh, we can't spend X money, we're hard capped. And so I think it's just a built-in excuse for owners to cut back a little bit here. And I know people have ripped the players for agreeing to it. We'll see how it all shakes out and how it actually impacts things. But it is interesting to me that the first big move a team made was not to avoid this new tax line. It was to shoot over it and take advantage of another team that wanted to cut costs. And I think this is a good deal for the Suns. And listen, Beal's going to have to play well here. He hasn't played great the last few years. But if he plays well and fits right in with these two other stars, they find some guys to play around them, they keep Ayton in this deal, who's to say they can't be right up there with the Nuggets in the West? And that's exactly what they already hoped to do with adding Durant. So this was just a
it's a
no-brainer.
unique situation for them. There's not going to be a lot of teams that are in that position to improve with a guy like Beal, who are already. I mean, there was a lot of people who thought the Suns could have been the team coming out of the West this year. It was obviously Denver, but they were that close. So adding a guy like Beal made a ton of sense for them. I don't think a lot of those opportunities arise, and that's why the Suns took a gamble. They also have guys that they don't expect to have problems with in the immediate future. Like Durant, you're gonna ride Durant out. I mean, he's proven to be one of the best players of all time. Yeah, he's getting up there, but he can still play. When he's on the court, he's still one of the best players in the league. We already know that Booker is an MVP fringe candidate, for the next 10 years probably, or whatever, however many years you want to say. Um, and Beal is a guy, again, he's an all-star. He's one of the better scorers in the league. Interesting to see how he plays with some serious talent around him. Like you said, they kept Aiden. They are going to be, their depth is going to take a little bit of a hit, I'm sure. But you also have to wonder if they can grab a couple of vets who are going to want to play in, Arizona, great place to live and play with some superstar players, take a little bit of a discount, make a championship run. I think the league is still wide open. I know Denver was a team that really outclassed everybody this year, and certainly with Murray and Jokic, you expect them to be in the mix for a bit. But going down into the playoffs, nobody would say that there was a shoe-in out west to come out, and certainly in the East there wasn't that thought either. So the opportunity was there; they took it. I think I mentioned it briefly, but the no trade clause moving forward, I'd be stunned if you ever saw it again. With the way that the CBA is shaping up, the way it hinders teams, and and I understand that maybe a team that's not a major market might have to do everything they can to try to keep a player, and I get it, but man, did that really screw the Wizards over in this situation?
Unbelievable.
It absolutely screwed them over, and that's why we're talking about Landry freaking Shamet and second round picks like they mean anything at all. Now, when they say multiple pick swaps, did they come out with the details on those? Because I briefly didn't see them.
They only had 2 because they traded 5 picks effectively for Durant. So it was those off years. I want to say 24 and 26 because I do believe their pick this year is going to Brooklyn. I want to say, 21st overall is going to Brooklyn. So probably next year is a swap, which
and it's a glorified salary dump. It's a glorified salary dump for Wizards, right? They're gonna either flip Paul or release him within the next 9 days. They're not going to pay Chris Paul $30 million, obviously, and I'm sure he doesn't want to play there. That $15 million, I'm interested to see if what happens with Chris Paul. Do they just buy him out? Do they flip him beforehand, and the team that acquires him buys him out?
Right, because you have to imagine the agent's gonna say, just buy this guy out. Come on, save yourself some money. He can stretch him 5 years. So the Wizards could effectively take a $5 million hit for the next 5 years, which is nothing, and let him go. Otherwise, they're taking back money, probably expiring. I know there's been some talk of expanding this deal to include the Clippers. So that would probably include either Marcus Morris and Eric Bledsoe, or Morris and Robert Covington or of course Covington and Bledsoe as well, going to the Wizards as expiring salary in exchange for Paul. In that case, Paul would still make his $30 million playing for the Clippers this year. Second year, fully non-guaranteed. Otherwise, he'd be going there on a minimum, which would be like $3 million, but he'd still get his. I think this guarantee came out to about $25 million in this deal to make the money work. So he's going to get 25, 30 million either way here. It's about what the Wizards get out of this, which, is either cap relief, which I don't think means a ton to them. They don't have a ton of money on their books this year. In fact, you have to get to that floor line if you're them. So I'm sure they wouldn't even hate to, have some money coming in or some guys they could flip later. I don't think the Clippers would hate getting off some money here. So, I think a trade could come together. The question is, Jimmy, should the Celtics be interested here? Because, of course, they floated moving Brogdon, trying to save some money. This would actually require them to pay a lot more money, $30 million, to have Paul on their team this year if they do a Paul trade. But it would guarantee that he lands on the Celtics this year. So would you do something like a Brogdon for Paul?
I don't know enough about the salary cap ramifications, unfortunately. My brain's
it'd definitely be a big bump in tax.
Right. Which is that just Wick funny money that we're talking about? Like, do we not care about that? Or is it gonna prevent them from, doing other things?
It'd prevent them from doing Grant, I'd say.
Okay. That I'm fine with.
And then you save $30 million next year, probably.
Here's why. I mean, there's pros and cons to it. And I got, I said when the news came out that the Suns were going to buy out Paul, I said, the Celtics have to get this guy. And I had about 40 people tweet at me telling me how dumb I was. And then I had about maybe 10 who agreed with me. So I know I'm in the minority here, which is fine. But I think Chris Paul is the type of player stylistically that you need on this team. He's a playmaker. He's a pass first. He's a guy that's going to get players in the position to, get open shots and get good looks. He's a veteran in the sense, and I know that, guys like Tatum and Brown and Smart, those are veterans too. but I'm talking about an established superstar, future Hall of Fame veteran that comes in here, can direct traffic out there, can maybe provide some perspective, a little guidance. I know he's got a good relation. I shouldn't say no, but I'm fairly certain he has a pretty good relationship with Jason Tatum. I think I can remember Tatum talking about some conversations he's had with Chris Paul in the past. So there is definitely something there. I think Chris Paul would love Boston. I don't know any players who have come to the team and don't. It tells me they work out together sometimes. So there you have it right there. So there is, I'm sure there's some dialogue there. And so I think that there's something there. Obviously, the money's a killer. He's not a $30 million a year player anymore. And that's, that's the reason why he's available to begin with, I imagine. So that part is the hang up now. But it's just, like Wick has to spend more of his money and the Celtics can't re-sign Grant Williams, then I'm thinking about it, because I think Chris Paul could help the Celtics a hell of a lot more than Grant Williams does. And if you're trying to win a championship with the guys you have, and it sounds like, I know we'll get into it, but it sounds like they're just going to bring back the band here, then, how do you improve? How do you get over that hump? And we obviously know they do need bigs. If you consider Grant a big, then I guess technically losing one would not help your situation. And they have plenty of guards. Now, you'd have to obviously get rid of a guard if you're going to bring in Chris Paul. So is it Brogdon? Probably. I don't think you can get rid of a guy like Smart and bring in Paul. You're going to lose a lot on the defensive end if you do that. So, you have a lot of decisions to make. It's not an easy answer, but I think it's interesting, and I think it's something that they should. It shouldn't just be brushed off. Let's put it that way. It shouldn't just be brushed off by people like, he's this old and he can't stay on the court. Oh, okay. Well, maybe he does stay on the court next year. Maybe he has a reduced role and he's, exponentially helpful off the court, and he provides a little bit of a leadership that this team's been missing, or maybe some, how do you say, like, he can sort of steer the ship, cachet, but also like maybe some calmness,
ability too. Yeah, calmness and
late game
crunch time.
execution. Yeah, exactly.
So that's exactly what I'm thinking about here is, can this guy run the crunch time offense? Because we know this team struggles immensely there. Probably not a good idea to have the ball in Tatum's hands in those circumstances. And Paul's the kind of guy, I think you mentioned this when we debated it, who has the cachet to take the ball from Tatum. Smart doesn't. White doesn't, certainly. And, Brown ends up in the corner in crunch time more often than not. So this is a guy who could come in here and do this. Now, you're not going to trade White for him. You're not going to trade Smart for him. I'm sure some people probably would. I just think the age and the money and the sustainability of the team, and plus like the skill sets, you want a defensive guy in that backcourt still, and White's that guy. But I don't know. I'm not too excited about trading Smart. I'm just not. Maybe I'm the wrong person to make that decision.
You don't just trade it for the hell of it. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, I mean, and would the Wizards even want him? He signed through 2026. I don't know. The guy is Brogdon, because there's so much reporting out there that they're looking to move him. Teams are interested in him. I'm so glad the Beal thing happened, by the way. Not only because the Heat didn't get him, but
the Heat are still out there for Damian Lillard, I hear.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reporting out there right now that he's probably not going to move, but we'll see what happens with the draft and everything this week. My point is, they're looking to move Brogdon. It feels like they're just trying to dump him, which I hate. I always hate those cost-saving moves where you're getting nothing back. You're maybe declining in skill set at that spot just to save a couple $1 million. Like, if they trade him for, like, Tim Hardaway or something, I'm going to be furious. But if you trade him, and we can debate if it's worth giving up a pick in that scenario, because, of course, he's owed 2 years of salary here. For Paul, I mean, Paul is a comparable shooter. Paul had a ridiculous shooting year last year, which doesn't get talked about enough. Maybe that comes back to earth a little bit next year, but he's a guy who can shoot at that Brogdon level. The defense, Brogdon wasn't very good on defense. I said that all year, so I don't think you take a hit there. And then you get this massive playmaking bump and all the benefits we just talked about there. So, I don't know. Would you give up a first? Along with Brogdon for Paul?
No, I don't think you can get rid of your first, man. I mean, with the way the league's trending, I mean, they need to find, and I know we're talking about Chris Paul, and this is the opposite, but they also need to figure out a way to get some young talent in here. Trading all their picks away is not going to be the way to do that. And they're going to run out
Right.
of, they're going to run out of cap space. They're going to run out of money available options to fill out a roster. And we saw depth become an issue this year at points where Missoula just didn't trust, I don't know, 8 guys on the team. So you've got to find, at some point, you've got to start to develop some younger talent. So the guys that you can depend on 2, 3, 4 years down the road, whether they eventually become starters or whether they're just reliable bench guys, like, Grant Williams kind of was to an extent, especially the season prior, right? So by trading all your picks away, I don't think that's the answer. I don't think that's the right thing to do. Again, a guy like Chris Paul, great to have, and I do feel like he would definitely help this team, like a TJ McConnell type player. But
all right,
you can't sell the future for it. You can't make a deal like that for it.
What are you looking for Brad? We debated a big Isaiah Stewart, something like that. The money doesn't really work there, but I'm so worried, Jimmy, right now. And maybe it does help you keep Grant, in which case I understand it a little bit more. But you go out and you spend the first a year ago to get this guy. He helps. Like all year, he was great, and he gets hurt at the wrong time, and now everyone's like, get rid of him.
Well, it's recency bias, because it's recency bias, Bobby. That's what it is. People only remember the last thing, right?
You know what it is too? I think he's the outsider. Like
that's 100.
You got your guys.
That's the other 50%.
Brown, Tatum, Horford, Smart. Love these guys. Brogdon, get out of here.
You've got 2 halves. The first half is recency bias. He gets hurt, and then the whole thing, well, this guy can't stay on the court. He's always hurt. He really wasn't hurt that much this year, to be completely honest. He had a really durable year, enough so that he was the freaking 6th man of the year. So people don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about the fact that, the timing of the injury that he got. Yeah, obviously that hindered him and prevented him from being effective in the last round of the playoffs. Therefore, more proving his worth, right? In a way. So, I don't want to just get rid of the guy. I loved when they made the trade for him. I thought he was exactly what they needed at that time. Now, sure, you can comment that his defense wasn't quite there, but he's not a perfect player. I mean, those guys are hard to find, right? And they're not available in the same way. So if he was a perfect player, they wouldn't have been able to trade what they traded for him. Can he help? Absolutely. But you're also right, Bobby. Celtics fans are in love with, the comfort of Tatum, Brown, Marcus Smart. Those are their binkies. They want to see those guys walk out of the tunnel at 7:30 p.m. while they're on their couch with their bowl of popcorn, and they want to feel comfortable watching these guys take the court. They don't want to see change, and they don't want to ever point fingers and say that this guy might be the problem or that guy might be the problem. They want to point at everybody else. It's Brogdon, it's Blake Griffin, it's Joe, it's Hauser, it's Joe. When in reality, the guys who are on the court the majority of the time probably share a good chunk of the blame if something's going wrong. So, you can go ahead and trade this guy or not re-sign this guy. But if you keep the core intact for 10 years and you have 10 years of underwhelming performance, there's a trend there. That we can actually point to something. We can't just pretend that these issues don't exist. So, you're right, Bobby. I mean, it's easy to get rid of the new guy, right? It's easy to say, you know what? I'm not emotionally attached to this guy, so let's just get rid of him, right? That's the easy decision. But is it actually going to help you? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a no on Paul. I'd keep Brogdon if you don't get anything of value from him. But I'm all for using his salary, as some people are saying in the chat here, with a pick. I know you're going to need some of these picks to keep building that youth as you talk about and sustainability for the roster. But if you could go after, let's say, one of those guys in Toronto, Siakam, I don't know if he fits with this group necessarily, but, OG Anunoby, that would probably take a lot more picks. Both those guys are expiring, but you could use Brogdon's salary in either of those scenarios to consolidate the roster a little bit. I just want to keep seeing this team, and I know you do need to make things a little bit more sustainable here, but I do want to see them keep an eye on the present. Because you're still in this position where you're a top 3 to 5 team in the NBA. And if you buy some of these guys other teams are selling, you're still in the best position talent-wise, along with Phoenix and Denver and Milwaukee and some of these teams to win it all. So that's what I'm looking for at that spot. And it does interest me that A guy like Siakam could be available. A guy like Porzingis could become available. That wouldn't be my pick.
Porzingis is kind of a dink, though, isn't he? Like, nobody
No, that
likes
wouldn't be
that
my
guy.
pick, but you're seeing these guys who Brogdon's salary could get you there on, and you're going to have to take that tax hit. You're going to have to go into this apron that everyone's so scared of, but if everyone's starting to sell off money, you could be that buyer and you could be the beneficiary of that. And I think there's going to be a lot of guys out there that you could potentially use Brogdon's salary to acquire. If they just cut cost here, Jimmy, I'm going to lose my mind.
I don't think they're going to just cut costs. I don't think they can do that in this situation. I really don't.
No.
It's just a matter of finding the right pieces. I mean, they need to address
what's the biggest need?
The bigs.
All right, so we're talking Siakam, we're talking
Oh,
Porzingis, we're talking guys like that.
Siakam, you call Siakam a big? I'm talking like
Yeah, he can play some 5.
so
4.
you're small ball at that point, which okay, but I'm talking about somebody who can come in like a John Zanis, for example, a big, and really just sort of set the tone at the 5 position, because I can't count on Time Lord to do that. John, I'm hearing an echo.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, put your headphones on, pal.
Welcome in, John. That's John Zanis, everybody.
He's just on the speaker on his computer. He thought he had his headphones on this whole time.
Whatever it is that you guys said so far, it's all bullshit.
No, you're bullshit. Yeah, the show can start. The facts will start now. Everything else is a lie.
It's all bullshit.
We're figuring out what that move is, John. So we were just gonna get to the Jaylen thing. It's probably
Can
not.
I tell
at
you?
This point.
Can I tell you what it is?
What is it?
Yeah, you know.
No. Here's what I know that they don't know, and I don't believe in any certainties.
We haven't talked about reports yet. Just so you know.
Okay, we'll get there. What I'm saying is, there is not one thing publicly. Yes, we're looking to build around Jaylen and Jason, and we're going to blah 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 and this and that. And it's been put out there that they want to move a guard, whatever. Okay, great. But the best move is whatever could possibly make them better, which includes any number of possibilities.
Sure.
Okay. The easy thing to say is, if you are re-signing Jaylen, then obviously you move a guard for a big. We said do that when they signed Brogdon. We were saying doing that before Brogdon. We're like, well, you got White and Smart. Do you need them both? When they traded for White, we're like, they might trade Smart. Then they tripled down on. Then they tripled down on that position. So I don't fully understand it. That was an obvious thing. Anybody who looks at this team be like, well, they got 3 point guards and Joe doesn't even know how to use them. So they got to get help elsewhere. And then you watch Rob Williams broken down all year and Al Horford looking older. Of course, yeah. Trade one of those for a big. That's the easy thing.
But it makes sense, too.
And it makes sense. And that might be all that they do. That's the obvious one. But I'm not buying anything right now in terms of like that's all they're looking to do. I think they'd be looking to do anything. Somebody dangles something that's interesting. One team's trying to shed some salary. A certain player makes themselves available. There's possible moves to be made. Anything's on the table, right? Like, any intentions that they have to do whatever it is that they're going to do.
And I think tons of guys could be available. We just mentioned
they might be because a lot of
Porzingis,
people might be trying to get
Siakam.
Yeah,
like more and more. You're hearing more and more names every day almost because so many teams are in flux here, and particularly Washington. It feels like you get anyone there, and I don't love those guys, but it's just the first team that made this decision to sell and take this step back here. But that could happen across the board. John Collins.
Well, what do you guys think? What have you covered so far so I don't trip over you?
We debated Paul quite a bit because obviously he's the one who's most available.
We talked about that
now
trade.
You could probably get him in a trade rather than a buyout. He's probably going to Los Angeles. It'd be Brogdon for Paul, obviously, in that scenario. It's more expensive. Does it make you that much better? You might even need to compensate Washington with picks for taking that Brogdon salary, but that's how you get Chris Paul if you really want him at this point. There's still a guard log jam in that scenario, but it's a solution for your late game offense.
How does his contract work with the partial and the non-guarantee with those extra after this year?
So if he's on the team this year, he's making $30 million. Next year, his $30 million is completely non-guaranteed.
Who decides that? He's on the books with a partial guarantee, and if he's on, He's $30 million this year. Then
you have to pick up he's 15 guaranteed until like next week, and then it goes to 30.
Right. Okay. So
and
if
then you're
that's the
saying, Bob, you're
case-
saying his last year is a team option?
Next year's pretty much a team option. It's fully non-guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Brogdon at 20 versus Paul at 30. If Paul makes you better, even he doesn't have to make you 1.5 times better. If he makes you a little bit better and you think so, great. You're trying to move Brogdon. You might be moving Brogdon for nothing other than cap flexibility.
That's what's gonna drive me crazy if they do that.
So like,
but why would the Wizards want Brogdon?
They wouldn't. That's the problem. And Bobby said you might take on picks. The reason I never thought like it was thrown out there, like what could the Celtics do to get Beal? The chips that you were throwing in there to match salary doesn't go to Washington because Brogdon's on the hook for 2 and Smart for 3. So it was really hard to match salary without giving them shit that they would have to drag on their roster for long. And a rebuilding team doesn't want that. They obviously wanted the expiring and the picks and just to get out of town. I thought they'd get better players than they did, but whatever. Or at least a one young piece better than Landry Shamet. Doesn't matter. But they clearly wanted
no, we were both in that boat, John. We were stunned with it. It got to that low level.
I mean,
the trade clause, John. And no trade clause.
No, I get that. What I'm saying is that you had to get an expiring. I thought it would be an expiring, a bunch of picks, and a player like better than Shamet coming.
Do you guys really think though? He said Phoenix or bust. I'm sure he would have been fine with a handful of teams, including Miami.
Probably.
Yeah, but those teams have to be interested in taking him on. I mean, that's the other half.
I feel like everyone just started lowballing.
I think Hero wasn't it either because they didn't want to pay what he's making. They just didn't want to pay anybody anything at the end of the day. So anybody who's 20+ million for X amount of years doesn't fit with their plan because they just plan on losing. And so it's obviously just to sink this ship and then start their own process, and that's what they've decided to do. But Smart and Brogdon weren't going to get you there.
That's who they are.
Yeah. It's dumb. The whole thing was dumb. But I mean, if Paul makes you better, take it rather than eat the. Why would you want to go backwards? Right. Like if you think if you bring in Paul for Brogdon, you still have the flexibility at this point to move Smart. If you wanted to and reshape your team completely.
Yeah, Smart's just so cheap to me. It's not even that I love Smart. It's not. It's not.
What's your take, Jimmy? You like Paul, right?
Yeah, my take is that I would definitely interested in the option, but I don't really want to start getting.
You need to consider him
picks involved because I feel like like we've talked about, John. You trade away all your picks, you end up with zero bench a couple years from now. You don't have guys that can sort of chip in, help out on a low level, low money contracts, and you screw yourself. So I don't like the idea of trading picks for a guy like Paul, who's basically a 1-year rental. Right, you're not going to pick up a second-year option at $30 million, and then, you really.
I mean, if he wins you a championship, maybe.
Sure, but Bobby, that goes without saying. If you know for a fact he's going to win you a championship, you make that move. But
Corrales has
nobody knows that.
We can't afford Corrales, guys. Come on. you got me on the cheap. Okay, that's why you got me here.
No, come on.
So what else do you guys have?
But John, wait, what's your Paul take?
My Paul take is that he's still Chris Paul, even older,
I feel like, don't you think he's the kind of player that could help?
What are we going to talk about? Reliability, versus Malcolm Brogdon?
Right.
And again, he had a pretty relatively healthy year up until the very end. But if that's what we think we're debating here, I'm not that worried about it. He's still Chris freaking Paul.
But Paul has to be.
He's still a top 50 NBA player. He still runs your offense. He still does a ton of things for you.
Can he help you execute late in games? I think he can.
And he's a better point guard than what they have right now in terms of running an offense. There's no question about it.
Right. You don't trade for him to sit him late in the fourth quarter. He plays, unlike Brogdon, who a lot of times found himself on the bench late in the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
So that fixes an issue right there because you had a captain you had a ship without a captain in a lot of those games late where they were just floating around. Nobody knew if they were coming or going, and they would turn the ball over. Chris Paul.
Imagine if they had done Smart for Gordon like we wanted.
Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
I looked back on our text. Thread when Aaron Gordon was going off in the playoffs, and I was hoping that I was all about it, but I really wasn't.
Yeah, and
something
you
about
didn't have
Aaron
the
Gordon
guards you
at
had
that
now
time.
back then.
Something about Aaron Gordon at that time prevented people from being like super all about it. He's definitely
He's playing with Jokic too. I mean, it's
know,
a whole
he's
different universe.
found another level over there, and he's a different role, and it's worked out for him.
Totally.
But at the time, it wasn't.
Talk about a
that
guy who
easy.
makes his teammates better. And that's still the problem here with the Celtics. I mean, you could get 60 guards. You could get every point guard in the NBA on the roster and still Tatum and Brown dribbling around while they stand on the side. It's
Right.
something that has to change functionally about the team. And, you know, the one thing you could say about Paul is that he probably would have the cachet to take the ball from those guys. But then you're kind of back to that Kyrie, Kemba thing.
Yep. Have we done any ad reads?
Not
No.
yet.
Come on. Is this your first
We were about
podcast?
to, and then you jumped on. We were about to.
Okay,
You-
do one.
Factor
Boom.
meals.
We got Factor?
I don't know.
Yeah. Got Factor right up in here.
Do it.
There it is, folks. Factormeals.com/garden50 to get 50% off your first box. Factor Meals.
Whose job is this?
I think it's Bobby. I hope it's Bobby's because I'm just winging it right now.
Jimmy's always claiming it. Listen, during prime spring season, you need some
Summer.
convenient meals.
Yeah. We're fringe. We're getting right into summer.
We're
Actually,
close.
it's a good point, John. Summer's coming up. You want to get some
Yeah.
healthy meals in your system. It's not too late to get that beach body going, start
Yep.
feeling good, get out there and running. All right, Bobby, sorry.
Right. Skip the trip to the grocery store. Skip the chopping, prepping, cleaning up. Just get these prepackaged ingredients.
Yep.
Heat it up, enjoy, and you're back outside to
No
soak in the
cooking.
summer. That's what it's all about.
Hey, we don't
Yep.
have time to cook. It's the summer. You get out of
It's
work.
America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit.
You get out of work, the sun's shining, you get a workout in, you run home, you eat quick, you go back out, you have a couple drinks with your friends. This is the summer. No one's slaving around in the kitchen for 2 hours, trying to, whip this up and whip that up.
You should have seen the lengths I went on friggin' I don't even want to talk about it.
With what? Factor meal? With your meals?
The pies.
Yeah, no, on Father's Day, the amount of friggin'
Father's
cooking
Day.
I had to do.
You have
Disaster.
to cook your own meals?
Yeah.
Is that what you
Look at
cook?
that.
Sean, is that you?
Factor
wish.
meals, Factor shakes.
Oh, we got Factor shakes.
Oh, they got shakes?
Yeah, guys, come on.
I didn't even
Get
know.
with it.
I knew they had it, but they look good. I'm not a green beans
Mm.
guy personally, but
Those bars are great too. You need something quick.
Anyway, go
In fact,
check it out.
meals
It's
on the
America's
go.
#1 ready-to-eat meal kit.
toss
So
it in the
go get
bag on
some.
your way to the gym. Bob.
Factormeals.com/garden50. Get 50% off your first box. Guys, why are you teasing people with
stuff.
the bigger news of today? Why are you messing with people?
We didn't say anything about bigger news of today.
Why are we messing around with the report and we haven't done it yet?
What
The
are you
Jaylen.
talking about? We just didn't get there yet, John.
Well, why are we waiting on this?
So this is the third.
because
this
we're
is the
getting some
third
people in
report
the
to
room.
This is the third report to say this. This is the first one, John, as I said last week, to say, here we go, Supermax. Because that's what was missing in the previous one was the price. And it looks like there's some willingness here to do the Supermax. And if that's the case, it's done.
Okay, that's our show.
Thank you guys. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us tonight.
So
Thought this would be
I'm not
interesting.
surprised about this.
You believe it?
I believe it because there's just too
Young and
much
naive.
risk.
He's so young and naive, John.
There's too much risk in these other scenarios. I mean, these trades just don't happen because one, he signed 1 year, which is the biggest problem here. Two,
Correct.
there's no star coming back. Teams, unless you're selling or a guy demands a trade in the Beal situation or Durant, you're not trading a star for pieces. So your best bet is to bring him back and wait for a star to come back for him later if that's how you handle it.
It's again, I think you have to because I just don't think I don't think you can get value.
You got me a little intrigued in that Simon St. John, but it's just way too
I
risky.
did-
Imagine if you
still
get
do it.
imagine if it's a bust at number 3 and Simon's just as streaky and not that
It's
great.
not that. You've got to roll the dice. As Jimmy said before in our
Yeah,
text
but this
thread.
is very risky.
What did I
Jimmy
say?
What Jimmy's stance, which I believe we've talked about it, is that it's the safe move, it's the easy move. It doesn't mean it's the right move.
Right.
sometimes in life, whether it's this or anything, any choices you make, you wait forever to make a decision, then you just don't have another decision to make. So that's what happens a lot of times. People don't want to make a risky move or decision about anything in life. So they wait until the very end of time where there's really only one thing left that they can do. And that's where the Celtics are with Jaylen. If they wanted to move on, not because they tried to trade up and get a star, because they had decided, looking years ahead, if I end up having to supermax this guy to keep him, I don't know if that's good business. I don't know if I want to be in that position. I don't know if I want this to be my team. I'm a little bit worried about it. I think I have to make a move. I got to get max value from this guy. When is that going to be? Well, it's got to be at least 2 years prior to his contract, and you make a move then. That's when you had to do it. But it's a risk trading Jaylen Brown coming off a finals appearance when you just added to the roster and thought you were going to get back. Yeah, that's a gutsy move. I'm not saying they should have done it, but if you were going to, you have to do it early. They're in a point now where you're right, Bobby, is you can't trade him for anything real unless there's a wink deal that he's re-signing somewhere. You think he's given any team he's never played for before? He's been here all of these years and he's like, I don't know, maybe, Like
Right.
you think he's just going cold to Charlotte or Portland on a rebuild or on a whatever or who knows what, and like I'm totally coming back no matter what. No way. Like no one can give away anything real. People are like, I wouldn't do Simons in the.
He's like
pick.
the equivalent of a no trade clause, right?
Guys,
now.
but Portland's not giving you Simons in the 3 pick for Jaylen Brown. They're not. I'm sorry. Like for all of the I wouldn't do that deal for Jaylen, the other side doesn't want to do it either. They're not giving up real things or big assets
Portland's the one because they may not have a choice with the Lillard stuff.
But they're not going to.
You'd probably have to give them a first,
they're looking. That's why they're talking like Zion. They're not talking about somebody who's a flight risk after a year.
Zion's so interesting, yeah.
So I just don't think you can make that move unless you're bringing a star back who at least have 2 years to sell him on your organization. Brown being able to walk at the end of the year and having clearly shown a penchant for not giving, tipping his hand on what he's going to do. He's going to free agency. You don't have supermax rights on him. He's going to free agency. Good luck.
Yeah, he's doing the free agency tour.
But anyway, very quickly, the report was. Bobby, do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, from Hemmel's back, I'll pull it up quick here. It basically indicated that there's not a whole lot of interest in trading Brown. Brown remains essential part of the picture.
The source says do not intend to trade the forward. Okay?
All signs continue to point toward Brown signing the Supermax.
Okay, so again, I'm not stomping on reporting here, but what does that say to you? They don't intend to trade him. You don't have to intend to trade somebody to trade them. That's the easiest thing to get around in the world. We had no intention, but then they called and things got that way.
Somebody made us an offer we couldn't refuse.
Honey, I had no intention to whatever,
didn't intend to sell the home, but somebody left a letter in our mailbox.
And she was really, and I don't know what happened. And, it just wasn't, I didn't go out thinking that was going to happen. Like, no, intention doesn't mean anything.
Everything good at home, John?
All signs continue to point towards Brown signing. What does that mean, all signs? Like, that's just kind of what you think, right? All signs point towards blah, blah, blah.
It is a weird way to describe it.
There's no signs not pointing towards it, I guess.
What would be concrete would be the Celtics have offered Jaylen Brown a max contract, and it's believed he's going to accept it.
Well, they can't do that till the first.
I know. Or it is believed they are ready to offer it as soon as that date is ready and that Jaylen will sign.
Yeah.
A little bit more concrete. But maybe that's what's happening. And then, bang, you're there, and it's over. This whole I'm not going to call it a saga, but it's over early.
There's nothing preventing them from saying they want to re-sign their own guy. There's no, there's no
all
rule
signs
against
point.
that.
I mean, it's so passive. Like, and you don't know who the source is here, but you would have to assume it's probably from the Celtics side. There's an intent to offer the Supermax here. We want to keep him. Like, it could be a little bit more concrete than this. And, that's what I've been waiting for. And it's a little closer to what I've been waiting for is at least mentioning Supermax. There's not going to be a negotiation here. And, this is just the way it's written. But
guys, I'm not gonna. By the way, as Bobby said, Jaylen signs that Supermax. the trade discussion is on in 1 year
Right.
again, especially if they don't win in a year.
Yeah. And that's so back to
It's actually going to heat up. Jaylen Brown being traded will be talked about more than ever after he signs this Supermax deal.
Totally. And you better pray that he continues to play at an elite high all-star level.
That's
once
it,
he's
Jimmy.
making freaking $60 million a year.
if he regresses at all or
He's
doesn't
going to be
improve,
the highest paid player in the year in the league when he signs his
So
deal.
this is what it comes down
it's
to.
a huge contract.
I'll ask you this question again. Does it appear to be bad business to offer a Supermax deal to people who are outside the obvious top 10, 12, 15 players in the league? And Brown is not one of them. Brown is not one of them.
I think it's bad business.
It's the only way to keep him, though.
But that's the point is, let's look at it this way. If you're Belichick, for example, you have a way you do things. I'm willing to pay this much for this. I'm not paying it for that. So they sign people with the full understanding when they get to free agency, I'm not re-upping because wide receiver ones cost $24 million and I'm just not going to do that, or this costs that. What the NFL does with running backs now. If you decide this is the way you're doing business, you're not going to let business be done to you. You're going to decide ahead of time, when Brown's up, I don't want to sign him to that third deal. I don't want to. I don't think he's going to be worth it. You have to make that. You got to run your business that way, if that's what you think. Right now, their backs are against the wall. They have to sign him to the richest contract in the NBA right now, and he's like the 30th best player. So, like, have fun with that.
Right. You just have to hope that they can get more trading. If they have to trade him at some point, you have to hope that by signing him and trading him with the contract attached, they can get more than if they just traded him to a team this offseason with 1 year left on his deal. Because that's really what it's going to come down to at some point. Unless you think he's just going to ride out his career in Boston and, into the distance and then win a couple of championships.
Well, it also depends on your philosophy. If you only think it's worth trading him for another star, you wait because there's no star available right now. Like, you would be waiting for Lillard or something like that.
But you're not going to get a star at this point in his deal.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
If you want to do something smaller, which John's argued, and I think there's a strong case for splitting up his contract now into multiple guys.
We know that's not how it works, guys. The point is you have to have the foresight so you don't end up paying the 35th best player, whatever. Like Julius Randle, is he worth Supermax money?
Well, here's the problem. So the one deal
you're telling me Julius Randle's perennially a top 30 player in the NBA? He made an all-NBA team. No, he's not. Like, you're going to have to pay that guy. And then a year after you pay Julius Randle Supermax money, you'll be like, God, that sucked. Like,
right.
that, you know what I mean? Is like, it's fine.
Because some reporters voted him onto a team.
Right. It's just, you're going to do it because that's the business. But if you don't think the guy
it's not
you
an
have
easy decision.
No, it's not. What I'm saying is you have no choice, but that's what happens is then you're the Wizards and you're like, crap, who in the world would not have paid Bradley Beal? Let's go this way. 2 years ago, if any team had Bradley Beal, would they not have given him a Supermax?
Maybe with some self-awareness. I mean, they kept thinking they were going to make the playoffs and make a run, and they weren't close.
It's bad business.
Yeah. Here's my thing. So, obviously, the trade I liked that I came up with was something like Murray, Hunter, Okongwu coming from the Hawks. Get more depth, more young, well-rounded guys. The problem, though, and what are we talking about with Brown? $50 million a year or so. Murray's up in a year, and that's 30-ish million a year probably. Okongwu's up in a year. Is that 25 million there? So that's already more expensive than Brown. Plus Hunter's 20 million right now. So that's like 70, 80 million instead of 50 million for Brown. Not to mention the fact that Brown and Tatum just beat that array of Hawks players 4-2, despite all the issues that the Celtics had here. So, it's just kind of that like grass is greener thing. Like all these other options seem appealing because like things just seem so screwed up in Boston right now. But you're still playing the odds, I think, and the best odds of you being there year in and year out right now, I think, are Brown and Tatum. But
yeah,
I don't know, John. That contract could turn bad if he doesn't improve.
Yeah, he's like the 40th best player in the NBA.
Is there a chance he could improve, though?
I didn't even see that comment. I just heard you say that.
I just keep subtracting 5. Just keep adding 5.
He's like top 50.
Top 50
He's
ish.
top 50. Give him that for sure. Somewhere in the top 50. I don't know exactly where.
Man.
Some Celtics fans would tell you he's top 50 all time, the way they talk about the guy. Bobby's favorite player, for cripe's sakes.
Third favorite player. Hey, the Horford jersey came down. I thought you guys would notice.
I didn't notice. What's going
Oh, what did he
End
do?
of an era?
End of an era.
What's going up?
Oh, we'll see who's
Fair point here. Rather than debate Jaylen, and by the way, it is closer to 30 than it is 15, by the way. But it doesn't matter. The point is, this is another issue here is, again, you're trying to figure out whether or not this is it. We've had this debate from the beginning of time, too. It doesn't matter. All of this is pointless. They're here now. They're probably going to re-sign him, right? And that's it. And so you're running it back with this team, and you're making small tweaks into next season. And if you can trade Brogdon or someone for another position that's going to make you better, then great. What I don't know is any of this real? Are they actually trying to do it, or are they just trying to shed salary? Are they trying to get under the tax? Are they trying to what's the actual goal here? I don't know what the goal is. I don't know what they're trying necessarily to do. The report says Wick's fine paying the tax. I'm sure they don't want to be over that second apron if they can avoid it.
Buy more tequila.
Right.
So the Grant thing's interesting.
But they paid what,
$69
million in tax last year? You know?
Yeah, hefty amount, probably the most ever under that group by far. The Grant thing,
that's a pretty significant bill.
The Grant thing in combination with the Brogdon thing is interesting though, because if you're saying, this is what I don't get, and I'm frustrated on a number of different levels here. In 2022, you said this, John, man, you got to find someone to eat up those Pritchard and Grant minutes, and you find it in Brogdon, and it goes well. And now it's you're trading Brogdon to pay Grant more and give Pritchard more opportunity. How does that make any sense after what you accomplished last year with the Brogdon trade?
I mean, it doesn't. Here's the thing. If you're just getting rid of Brogdon in order to reduce salary somehow, and that you're just going to give those minutes to Pritchard, then it's dumb. If you're doing it to address another position where you have greater need,
you got to get something for Brogdon.
Then it's good.
Absolutely,
but I don't know what his value is. And again, I don't even know what's going on with his body right now. Like, he had something, like, we don't know.
Isn't that interesting too? We haven't heard a single thing about the surgery.
Yeah.
Because you'd want to get that surgery done as soon as possible to be ready for camp. So is he waiting to see where am I going to be? Yeah, how much do I want to have that surgery?
Well, I have a feeling it probably doesn't matter where he's going to be. It probably is just a matter of what the severity of the injury is, right?
Yeah.
It's just something that
but when
he can recover from without surgery, then
I guess you wouldn't hear in that case. But I don't know. I thought we'd hear something by this point. And then, of course, you're hearing Gallinari is going to be a key contributor next year. So I don't know.
What's the deal with him? Is he going to play? He could help.
Top 50 player in my book.
He could help.
Yeah, 50-ish.
Give or take 50.
He could help, but you can't count on it.
You know what I loved about the Ringers recent list?
Can't count on anything.
Yeah, how the Ringer has that running 125 list. They didn't know how to group like all the Celtics not named Jaylen and Jason, and they just put them literally in a row. It's like, no joke. It's like Al, White, Smart, Williams are like 4 straight slots somewhere between like 69 and 73.
And they could all either be like in that range, or they could be 169 to 173. Like, that's the scary part.
They put them all there. Al was ahead of all of them, believe it or not, and Brogdon was somewhere in the 80s or something. But
Al was ahead of all of them.
Al was ahead of all of them, which is strange. I would have thought it'd be Derek White. I have no idea.
Totally, it should be Derek White over.
I have no idea.
Brown was Tatum the third best player by far.
Yeah, Tatum was 6. Brown was 22. He slipped after the playoffs.
Speaking of Al Horford, this is their big. They have to address this position. Al Horford and Rob Williams cannot be your 1-2 punch at the big position anymore. It just can't happen. We can't go into their season like this.
Yeah.
There's nobody on the bench that can help those guys. Sorry, Luke and everybody else. But you got to have somebody that can give you 25 solid, hard minutes on top of whatever you expect Horford and and Rob to do.
You do.
Yeah.
And it can't be Muscala.
No, that's what I mean.
Oh, I like
Nobody
Moose
on
a
this
lot.
current team
Moose minutes
can do it.
The last thing on that report, guys, which I'm not sure if you got to, was Grant.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is where it gets interesting.
So this one is interesting, too. And again, we could debate whether or not you keep Jaylen, the Jaylen thing is good basketball business or not. It doesn't really matter because I think we're all in agreement. It's probably the only business that they can do at this point. They can't offer him less. That would be insulting, and he'll leave. Can't trade him because he doesn't have the value that he should have, for a team looking for, a player of that caliber because he's a flight risk. So you got to sign him, and then they start talking about it next year. And I do believe starting next year, you could hear a lot of Jaylen Brown stuff. Grant Williams also in this report that he's likely to be back with the Boston Celtics, that the feeling is that they'll probably match offer sheets if they come. This feels a little bit like defense, like don't even bother signing him, to an offer sheet. We're just going to match it anyway. That's just stupid. Go get somebody else, hoping that he falls and trickles down on the cheap. Somebody gives him $4 and $80. You think the Celtics are charging to the forefront with a pen?
No.
No.
They must just assume that's not happening.
In fact, it seems
exactly, Jimmy. Yeah.
It seems like they've organized the roster, and they certainly approached minutes last year in a way that looked like they were phasing him out.
Yeah.
So Gallinari's back, and he's going to play a prominent role in place of who?
Exactly.
Like, he could play some front court minutes here, but it'd be in place of Grant probably. And are you going to pay him a sizable contract to compete for that spot? I don't. It seems to me if he goes even of a modest offer, I've thrown around like 11, 12, 13 million a year here. He's gone. They can't match 15, never mind 20, and I don't think he'll get that much. But you're right, John. This is always the debate in restricted free agency is whether a team's going to match or whether a team's going to push some.
Grant Williams needs like a prove it deal, right? He needs like a 2-year. If he did like 2 years, 25, that might be the best thing for him. But it's got to be on a team that has a role for him. If he actually believes he's a $20 million a year player, the Celtics did not, it didn't work out for him this year by any stretch, and by the second half of the year, they didn't even give him the opportunity to prove he was.
Now, could he do that in Boston?
I don't know.
He just wouldn't have the opportunity, though. That's the thing.
I think the opportunity is there for him in Boston. I mean, we've talked about it. They don't have any freaking bigs. It's
but
just
Joe
he
won't
shot
play him
because he was so damn bad, Bobby. He became unplayable in Joe's eyes until I think Joe went a little bit over the top with it to the point where he just completely eliminated him from an option, and then he puts him in, and it's like, oh, Grant actually can contribute to at least some extent here. So there's got to be a happy medium involved. I don't think Grant was as bad as DNPCD, but he wasn't giving you 25, 30 quality minutes a game either this year.
So to further your point, John, the other half of the report, of course, is that there's sign and trade interest
Possible sign and trade.
engaged in that. So
that seems more likely, in my opinion.
Yeah, don't bother signing an offer sheet. Let's talk about a sign and trade here. Let's get something for him. I don't think this is an indication that they're just going to sign him right up and move on. It hasn't felt that way all along.
So this portion of the report feels planted. I don't know how else to say it, like this,
By who? By
Celtic style, which is don't sign the offer sheet, we'll match, but let's maybe work on a sign and trade. That's what's in their best interest for sure, because losing an asset for nothing sucks. And the reality is they're not going to run out and match a significant offer sheet. I find that very hard to believe. After doing what they did to him, you have a guy who you don't think is worthy of a minute, for half your playoff games, and you're going to match 4 and 76? No, you're not.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't use him, so why would they pay big money to keep him?
They're not doing that. So that's what I mean is this part does not make sense. It does not
Especially,
compute.
Why would you move Brogdon to make room for him?
And thank you for the super chat. We'll
get
to this comment and we'll get back to it in a little bit. We just wanted to finish here. I don't know what it would take to get Porzingis, but we can debate that in a little bit. We're just going to finish up the Grant convo.
Sure.
So there are some Grant sign-in trades that appeal to me. I know I'm not even going to mention the Indiana one, but something in Dallas like...
Why won't you mention the Indiana one?
It's gonna make John mad.
Oh, is it this? Is it this?
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's gonna make John mad.
John's gonna hit me if I mention it.
Maxi
The belt.
Maxi Kleber though, 2 years, $11 million a year.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what makes the most sense is if someone wants Grant, send them there, take a contract off their hands to make it a little bit cheaper for them to bring him in, or help out a team like Dallas that can't bring him in because they don't have cap space. And, you know, you get a cheaper version of Grant out of it. And I do like Maxi Kleber. He was hurt last year. He had a bad torn hamstring that ruined the season. But that's been a really reliable shooter with size at that 4 position for Dallas next to Luka. I think Tatum can make good use of him.
By the way, wasn't Porzingis Wemby when he came out?
Yeah, kind of. Not to this extent.
Not to this extent. What I'm saying is no one had ever seen anything like a guy that size who could move and dribble and shoot and stuff like that.
Yeah, but didn't he get picked like 5th or something, 6th?
That's because
he didn't go number 1.
Like I said, the first thing that I heard when I popped on, Jimmy said, he's kind of a dink, isn't he?
Yeah, I think personality kind of got.
He's gonna get really expensive too, especially if he has
is.
another year like last year.
Yeah.
But can he help? He is a big. He can shoot.
Yeah.
He got it.
He went 4th. It was Cat Russell Okafor Porzingis that year.
Wow, that's a bunch of guys that a lot of people don't seem to like.
Remember that was the Bigs draft. It was you had Cat Okafor and Willie Cauley-Stein that year, and they all
I
went
loved
high.
Willie Cauley-Stein. I wanted the Celtics.
You still want him to this day.
I did love him. I don't know what happened. That guy had all the tools.
It's the draft where the Celtics tried to offer a zillion friggin' picks to get up and take Frank Kaminsky or Justice Winslow and couldn't get up there. You know?
They would have been trading the Brown.
The Hornets
and
wanted
picks.
him so bad.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan wanted him.
don't.
And instead we got RJ Hunter,
that?
but you did get Terry anyway.
I loved the RJ Hunter pick.
That's still one
I'm
of
an
the.
idiot.
That's still one of the craziest reports in all my time following the team is that Danny was going to trade, what was it, 4 or 5 first or something like that for Winslow?
Yeah.
To move up a few spots, yeah.
And I think MJ was like, no.
No, because he wanted Kaminsky. That's what it was, yeah. And they picked him and didn't go well. No. Now Jordan's selling the team.
Yeah, probably for the best.
I don't Porzingis, my thing is, he's not the kind of guy who you kick the ball at to and he takes a shot. He's the guy who holds the ball and ISOs and attacks. Yeah, he's one of those guys who's going to need a lot of ball time and shots and opportunities. I don't think he's complimentary on offense. He is a great defender, great rim protector. He would play their system defensively pretty well. But again, he's on a 1-year deal if he even opts in. If he doesn't opt in, you probably can't get him because it's a sign and trade. So I don't know. And then you mentioned the personality stuff, Jimmy. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's not the guy. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, and also like this guy just buried him. So
really expensive too for 1 year, even $36 million. How you matching that? It's like Brogdon and
I don't think Porzingis can even show himself anymore after this.
Guys, I have to bail. Bobby, do more reads.
Have to retire. Yeah. Are you leaving us?
I do. I have to leave you. I can only pop in for a short window. I wasn't going to do it at all, but I wanted to jump in.
Well, we got your Jaylen thoughts. That was good.
Is there anything you're missing, John, that you need to get off your chest?
Any final thoughts?
I don't know. We don't
have a whole lot more, Bobby, do we? We're going for an hour.
I keep going in circles on the Jaylen thing. I like stuff, happening, but they're right. It's exciting. And I don't have a problem, as I said, taking a step back to take a step forward if you have the guts and the foresight to be able to do it. The more I've been spinning it in my head, I don't think any deals make sense involving Brown because I just don't think any team wants him.
Not now, no.
Under the circumstances.
Right.
At the same time, next year is very important. So you can't just roll it back and let's see what happens.
You have no choice but to do what they're probably going to do. And it's probably the right thing. Sign Brown.
You needed a team to come over the top.
And worry about the bill later, and that's it. And
hope
then
the coaches help.
And then go back in time and not hire Joe, but I don't think you can do that.
Hire as many other Joe doppelgangers as you can.
We'll see.
And hope that you can just fire him at the end of the year.
We'll see. But I do have to boogie, guys. So you guys
All right,
close.
John, thanks for hopping on. We'll see you around.
Jimmy, I'm glad you stepped up and took this one.
You know it, baby.
Thanks,
no,
Jimmy.
I felt bad. I thought Bobby was kind of floundering. looking for someone to hang out, and I just couldn't commit, so I appreciate it. Anyway, see y'all.
Yeah, peace, bro.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Don't thank me, Bobby. I wanted to.
Let's tell everybody about FanDuel. FanDuel. It's big baseball time, Jimmy. Sox are getting a little more exciting.
So the Sox just swept the Yankees, apparently. I don't know if it made a sound because I didn't see any of it, but if I was watching baseball, the only way I can get through a game these days, and I know they've sped it up, but baseball's still kind of slow. You toss a couple bucks on the team you want to win, or maybe you hedge. You toss it on the team you don't want to win, and you come out a winner either way, right? I'm sure a lot of people do that, but no sweat first.
Red Sox up 8-3 right now, by the way.
Look at that, up 8-3. FanDuel has an unbelievable deal going on right now where you just basically get $1,000 insurance, essentially. You know, it's not quite that, but you're going to make a bet up to $1,000 your first bet. And if you lose it, you'll get it back. And they call it, is it bonus bucks or
site credit? Yeah.
Site credit. Basically, you're going to get whatever you bet back to then bet again and just be a little bit smarter the next time around. So you don't even have to really, that's why it's called the no sweat.
You can take a big risk, something you really feel good about.
Exactly. Or you can toss a fat future bet out there, right? Toss it on whoever you think's going to win the World Series or whoever if you want. If football, people are getting all geeked up about the offseason. Unless you're a Patriots fan, you're probably not too happy right now. One of your best defensive players is, might be going to jail. Ho hum. So I don't know if you're betting on the Pats in any future bets, but if there's a football team out there that you think's going to take it, you can toss a bet on them, and you have to sit on it for a while, but it's kind of a fun one.
Yeah, you can also look at some of those NBA futures. If you're still feeling basketball, you can bet on MVP for next year, Rookie of the Year. Wembanyama right now only minus 180. It's not terribly long odds for a guy who's probably going to
stay healthy. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Champion next year, East champ, Celtics 230, Bucks 220. So Bucks still the favorite in the East next year. But of course, it's baseball that's rolling right now. New customers get a no sweat bet up to $1,000 at FanDuel.com/Boston. Don't miss your chance to snag a no sweat first bet. There you go.
Yep.
FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Again, FanDuel.com/Boston. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. FanDuel.com/Boston.
You don't have to read all this, I don't think. But anyways, it's a great bet. And man, you think it's tough being a Celtics fan? It must be way harder being a Patriots fan. Your players are going to jail.
A good player too.
They can't even. Yeah, like your
is our
best
guy
defensive players. Like
is our
could
guy,
be going to jail here.
Is our guy Taylor heading down the courthouse tomorrow?
I think he's got to post up there. He's got to start getting some lawyer jargon down, right?
I'm glad I haven't had to do that yet.
I think Amit's gonna head. I think we might have some footage. Amit was considering going down there and staking out, which I could fully support. By the way, I mean
you gotta.
Bobby, you've been on a number of flights, I imagine. Has there ever been a time you're like, I think I could sneak a couple loaded guns through this terminal?
It's inconceivable.
Has there ever been a point it's like, yeah, I think I could I'm just gonna toss it in the bag. I have a feeling it's gonna be fine. Like what? I just can't.
There's no way you wouldn't know that's not allowed.
Right.
Maybe you don't know they're in the bag, but that seems unlikely.
Yeah, that would seem extreme. You don't just. I mean, again, I'm coming.
Maybe they're not his.
Different world, maybe, but
plausible, but probably not likely. I don't know. It doesn't sound good.
Whatever.
You're just starting to get excited about them too, right?
Idiotic.
Hopkins and teams looking good mini camp.
The idea of Hopkins is like the highlight of the Patriots, off season. So.
Well, I'll take anything after the last couple of years. Anyway, that's what the kind of stuff you're getting over at Patriots Press Pass right now. I don't know if they've done
it's juicy. That's what makes it interesting, though. When shit hits the fan, that's when the people come to watch and listen. So it should be very interesting. And I guarantee you, I don't know if we're gonna have cameras at the courthouse tomorrow, although I wouldn't put it past Amit. But if we don't, we'll still have complete coverage of that whole thing. I guarantee you, Taylor is poking around.
Amit's going to have the camera in the court. I can see it now.
Amit's going to have to drop. I don't think Amit's going to have to draw a picture of Jack Jones. Like they do. He's going to be drawing a picture.
the courtroom sketch.
Yeah, we'll get Ahmed in a stand-up right outside the courtroom. That'll be something else. But man, the Patriots are something else. But anyways, that's talking Patriots. Don't get me started on the
Big week.
Pats.
That's
Don't get me
going
started.
on. NBA draft is Thursday. Will you be joining us? We'll probably be going live, Jimmy.
We'll see.
I'm gonna have some prospects rolling out over the next couple of days. There's some guys I already like.
I
we're
haven't
taking a
done
look
any
at here.
draft research. I'm gonna have to do my typical YouTube highlight reel research, and I'll have my big board put together before the draft. But the Celtics don't. It's not fun. They don't have any picks.
Oh,
So it's like-
35. Borderline first round. It's not like 56 last year.
I
where
get
it's-
it, but like you want like a top 10 pick and really get juiced up about.
Right, and that's why I think John got excited about moving up to 3. A little intrigue there,
Sure.
a little intrigue with Simons, something different.
Fun.
No
Yeah,
Jalen.
it's
Yeah,
just
it'd be
big-
fun.
It's just a big decision.
It's
You don't
it's a
just want
big
to make a
decision
meal
to
like
make.
move like that just because you want to get the adrenaline pumping for 20 minutes.
So do we want to fool around with the trade machine for a minute here? Want to pull it out?
You can pull it out. I mean, if you have it out already, by all means, don't ask me to put some trades together because I'm not prepared to do that right now. But I'll comment on yours.
So
if you have some.
let's look at Grant here because, of course, Grant could be on the move and assign.
I think I got 10 minutes left in me, Bob.
Yeah, so we'll just do Grant here. So who are we talking about with Grant? Pacers, I think, are the most interesting one because they have some cap space here. And I wonder, is this on the screen yet? No, here we go.
It's not. Okay.
Boom.
It's
So let's-
little hard to see. We're gonna have to maximize. Everybody blow up. What do they blow up your screen here?
Here we go.
All right, we can kind of see it.
So what
Maximize
interests
your
you?
screen.
What interests you on the Pacers? Not Tice. You're
I
not
mean,
interested
I
in the Tice
mentioned
return?
it's funny. I mentioned T.J. McConnell earlier in this show, Bobby. Because
TJ McConnell's an interesting one. So let's say, I think the most likely contract for Grant's going to be something like $15 million a year, and it could be 3 years. It's got to be at least 3 years to throw in a
Look at
sign
you.
and trade.
You've done this before.
Yeah,
That's a
something like
lot of
this.
money.
He's-
You think You think the Pacers want to give Grant this much money?
66. So the thing is, they'd want to send some money out, especially for this year.
Well,
so
is Turner available? Because he seems to be a guy I've seen named in the chat. He's been linked to the Celtics in rumors over the years. He's a big. He shoots threes. He's also, solid defensive presence. I mean, to be honest, I think this guy should be a lot more of a household name and I guess be a lot better. But
I think they like him now. They gave him an extension last year. McConnell was
so he's
interesting.
not going anywhere. You're saying?
No, not for Grant at least.
Not for Grant, but
I don't think he's untradeable, but I think you'd have to,
sure All right.
entice them
Okay.
the way they did with Sabonis.
You obviously have a
Albert
trade in
coming.
mind here. You picked the Pacers, so you tell me.
With me, it's Tice, but that's not exciting
Oh my
anyone.
God.
So
No.
McConnell,
No.
would you do Grant for McConnell?
Well, but the only problem with that is you already have 4 point guards.
Right. So you'd
You're
be
gonna-
sending. You'd be
You're gonna
sending
give him
Brogdon
Pritchard too
somewhere
or
else.
something? Well, Brogdon's not gonna go back to Indy. I feel like Pritchard for McConnell would be quite the trade.
So let's. Yeah, I know McConnell. Pritchard would still be sitting on the bench. So let's send Grant. And is Pritchard get enough playing time in Indiana?
Who cares? It's not his decision to make.
All right, so let's send Grant to the Pacers. Let's send Pritchard to the Pacers. Let's take McConnell back.
Okay.
And let's take Jalen Smith back as a big.
Okay. Does it work? Success. Okay. I'm interested. Now you're gonna have to get rid of, and if you make this trade, you're definitely getting rid of Brogdon at this point.
You'd
But
be
you've
sending
got-
Brogdon elsewhere.
But you've got a bit of a great pass first playmaking point guard in McConnell, underrated in my opinion.
So I think
And-
this would be the move with Brogdon after that is Brogdon goes to Dallas, depth guard work with Luka and Irving,
Interesting.
and Hardaway comes back to Boston.
which
A
you
little
said
bit
you wouldn't
cheaper.
like.
Yeah, but if you're getting those other guys at that point, there's more of a perimeter shooter, guy who signed for 2 years, a little bit cheaper than Brogdon.
Another guard, though. I mean, really, you're still
Yeah, more of a shooting guard though, a wing
okay.
guy, 6'5".
Yeah. Okay, that's true. So he's kind of like Jaylen backup, sort of.
Yeah, something like that.
You
Your
know, coming off the
Hauser.
bench. Yeah, exactly. Your house. Okay. I mean, Brogdon's the sixth man of the year, and Tim Hardaway is a solid player. Don't get me wrong.
Are you better with Brogdon, Grant, and Pritchard, or Hardaway, McConnell, and Smith?
I don't know a whole lot about Smith. What are your thoughts on him?
He's showing some flashes. He shoots the 3. He's big. I think he's close to 7 feet.
Yeah. What about Christian Wood? He's not available, huh?
He's a free agent. You can't really, you're
Okay.
not really
Yeah.
able to take back guys and sign in trades.
Gotcha.
How tall is Smith? 6'10". So he'd be your
Okay.
biggest center height wise.
So he's a depth big.
Yeah,
Which
guy. He's
honestly,
young. He's 23.
Honestly, they need a depth big. To be
And, you know,
honest.
Joe wants guys who shoot the threes. He's a good shooter.
I would do it. I need a little shakeup here. If you just bring the band back together, I'm gonna blow my. I'm not gonna be upset. I'm gonna be upset.
Who's the other team?
But
that got-
I don't think that like this isn't gonna a trade like this isn't like a massive shakeup that's gonna like rock Celtics Nation and like change the you know DNA of the team. But I do think you address a couple of needs. If you don't think Grant's somebody you want to pay big money to, then this is a trade that you would be happy to make, I think.
Let's test one more before we get
And
you
I
out of
think
here.
McConnell is sneaky solid. I really do.
He was hurt last year and the year before that, so
Right. Well, that's
you
the
didn't
problem.
see as much of him. He was buried behind some other guards. Anything on the Magic are interesting. They do have some money to sign Grant.
Well, you know John loves Fultz.
Fultz, I don't think Grant gets you Fultz.
No.
Could he get
Most likely
you? Nah, they're gonna be drafting too. So what position do they pick? I don't know. The Bowl. You get him.
You chose the Magic. You got to have somebody in mind.
Well, they were a team that got mentioned with interest in Grant. Get Gary Harris back. I don't know about that.
Jalen Smith, 28%.
Wendell Carter's
from
an
three.
interesting one.
Thanks.
He's a center, 24. Guy who could come up behind Horford. Kind of plays similar to Horford, which I find interesting.
Okay. Option there. 13 million for the next. What's his deal? 13 million, then what?
For the
What's
next,
he making here?
he might actually have a contract that goes down.
This guy's making Grant Williams money. Is he better than Grant?
He's different position. Banger inside. Passes. Yeah, 13, 11, 10. So his contract actually goes down.
Interesting. 15 and 8 last year. He's more of a traditional big, is what you're telling me?
Yeah. Oh, it'd be a step back for the Magic at that spot, but you know, if they like Grant, they like Isaac coming back, playing some center, got hurt, but Banchero.
He's been hurt forever, huh, Isaac?
The problem is you don't really have a center in Orlando after that. You know, Grant's not really a center.
No. Yeah, I'm not seeing the benefit.
That's the only thing I think that could entice you if you're the Celtics in this spot. And the Magic could obviously just sign him outright. I know they have interest in Van Fleet, though, so maybe they're paying him. No, this isn't the one.
No. Nope.
But we tried.
Pick another team.
One more?
Yeah.
Oh, why don't you
pick the
Who
Bulls.
are you interested in? Bulls?
Yeah, pick a fringe team, a team that needs to make moves.
They have a lot of free agents. That's the tricky thing with them.
Okay.
Obviously, Ball is not. Let's go to the Raptors.
Oh, let's go to your team, the Raptors. All right.
Who interests you more, Siakam or OG?
Well, Siakam's obviously a better player, but OG's younger, right?
And he signed for 2 years.
Yeah,
well,
OG's
the second
25.
year is a player option.
OG, give me OG.
All right.
Less money, younger guy. Gonna be harder to probably acquire.
So let's. What can you send?
Where's he?
You're not sending Jaylen.
So he's playing small forward, Tatum's what, going to play 4? No.
He'd play the 4, 6, 7. You know, it's all interchangeable. Brown
Yeah,
would play the
that's it.
4.
They're all going to be
Usually play-
interchangeable. The Celtics are all interchangeable.
Yeah. I don't know. Do they
Which-
want Grant? Probably not.
Yeah,
They
we're
want
trying.
Brogdon's money. Maybe flip that
Yeah, like
later.
let me ask you a question. What are the Raptors? Like, what are the Raptors? What are they trying to be?
I think if they're trading these guys, it's a rebuild.
So then they don't want Grant.
No. So
Grant's not
send
a guy you
Brogdon.
rebuild with.
Send Brogdon just to make the money work, and then how many picks would you be willing to give up? If they wait, they could trade 24. Trade 26.
Somebody commented Warriors might want Grant. Oh, what about Miami might want Grant. Jimmy Butler had some nice things to say about Grant. Are you seriously trading 3 first-round picks right now?
I don't know what else could entice Toronto. You don't have much.
Then I don't want to do this. Yeah, I
All
don't
right.
like this. I don't like
We're
this.
going to Golden State.
Let's try Golden State.
Jimmy got into the trade machine fast.
Yeah, this is like video games for me. Dude.
All right, who entices you on Golden State?
We didn't
Draymond
even
Green
mention.
just
We didn't even
opted out.
mention. Yeah, we didn't mention that Green's a free agent. I wonder if Celtics fans have any.
So let's
interest in
see
him.
what it takes. Everyone always wants to do a sign and trade. Let's see what it actually takes to get it done. So Celtics are at 166. If they do a sign and trade, they can't cross 169. So let's bring in Green. I mean, how much is Green going to make at this point? 25 over 3 years, maybe?
He just opted out of how much?
25 for 1 year.
So why the hell would he sign a 3-year deal for?
Because it's
25?
75 total.
Oh, so you're saying 75
years,
over 3
yeah.
years? You said 25.
Yeah. No, I meant 25 a year.
Okay.
So let's say I have no clue what he's going to make, by the way. So let's just say that.
I mean, that's a lot of money for him. But you're right. I mean, he did opt out.
But this is just how hard it is to do a sign and trade, but it might be worth it for the Celtics. So let's say it's Green.
I think we're gonna lose people if we just get too complicated here.
Right. So I don't. What are you giving up for Green?
I don't want Green. I'm giving
obviously.
up nothing for Green. What are you giving up? Because I can't even imagine a trade for Green. I don't like Green.
It's so hard. Like even if you give up Grant, let's just give up Grant for the hell of it, but it doesn't save you anything because right now he's 0. He's a free agent. Pritchard.
That's a big dent.
I think you have to give up.
You have Smart.
Gallinari.
No, you can't give
We
up.
already gave up Brogdon.
Brogdon is Smart,
most
yeah.
money. Not giving up Brown, Tatum. Let's try this.
Horford.
Let's just see where this gets us money-wise. So the Celtics. They save $18 million. So what's 166 minus 18?
166 minus 20 is 146.
148. So you get to 148 with this trade. You can't cross 169. So you have 21 to spend elsewhere. That works.
Right.
Would you do this deal?
I mean, I guess so, but I mean, it seems kind of. I don't know what's in it for the Warriors.
You're gonna lose Green anyway. You get back a couple power forwards and 2 guards to play alongside. They're probably trading Poole in this scenario too somewhere.
They're gonna get rid of Poole and Green. I
In
thought it
this
was gonna be
scenario,
last
yeah.
man standing. I just can't stand Draymond Green. I'm kind of tired of his act, but I guess he would probably be funny to root for if he's on your team.
Well,
Go to let's do one more team here. Get out of this sign
All right.
and trade crap. Go to what's another team?
let's see.
This is for Grant, correct?
We did Dallas.
What about Portland? No.
Yeah, this is simple, but this is my Grant idea. Send him to Dallas. Take back Maxi Kleber.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about this Maxi Kleber guy.
France 15 or whatever. You get
Sell
Kleber
me
at
on
11
Maxi
for 3
Kleber.
years.
Sell me on him.
Well, he's what's his height say here? 6'10".
6'10".
So he's bigger power forward. Can't play the 5, but big size at the 4. Good shooter. Veteran. Signed 3 years for cheap. Last year, again, he struggled. He tore his hamstring, I think it was. Only 37 games. Year before that, not great either. But 2021, shot 41% from 3 on 4 threes a game. He's 36% for his career. So just a similar player to Grant. Better rebounder, obviously. Worse defender. 31, 32 this season. Years old. Yeah, if you're going to lose Grant anyway, it's just a guy who can play his position.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if that's probably more in line with the type of trade that you'd make for a guy like Grant, and they're not going to package half the team and get a star back. I don't think that's
right. You're just saving Dallas some money in this scenario. Now, if they're going to pay Kyrie 40 and they're hard cap, that gets a little tricky. I don't know what they're going to do with Kyrie. I don't think anyone does, but it's an option.
So
I like our
Hardaway's
Indiana
there.
one we came up with.
I like the Indy one. I like the Tim Hardaway idea. I don't hate that one. So I guess
again, these aren't exciting trades. It's just stuff that can happen.
No.
So let's end our trade machine segment here mercifully.
Okay. Yeah, please. If everyone left.
John must be so mad watching.
Totally.
Let's give a quick shout out before we get out of here to Athletic Greens. New Twitter handle, by the way, if you want to follow them and check out what they're doing over there. It's drink_AG1.
Okay.
But the offer remains the same. athleticgreens.com/garden. 75 vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and
prebiotics. Oh, adaptogens. Absolutely.
All in your water each morning.
I'm still on my AG green shit. I'm drinking that every day.
Yeah, I'm going to hit the Cape for a few days, bring the travel packs with me.
There you go.
It's great this time of year. I know everyone's traveling. So
you
5 free
Cape?
travel packs.
Little Cape
for a couple days.
Okay. What part?
So, Hyannis.
Oh, okay. Little beach Bobby?
Hopefully it's some nice weather. So
lather up.
Yeah, the weather's been awful, by the way. It's brutal June so far.
It's been horrible.
I need some good weather. We're going to Vegas, by the way. So that's the good weather I'll get. Summer League coming up a couple weeks from now. July. We're going to be there July 7th through the 12th. So we'll have a handful of Celtics games. Victor,
who are you going with? Is Amit going?
No, Josue may. Still haven't heard, but I'm for sure going. And unfortunately, no Yamadar reported today. No Jawan Begarin.
It's like they don't really need to go. Like
They don't need to go. We've seen them.
Are they ever gonna? I mean, are those guys that we should be talking about filling out the roster?
Right. I think Jawan could come. If there's not a need to play him, though, you may not. If Hauser's still here and they get another wing, maybe not, because you don't want him just sitting on the bench. But they're excited about him. I like him. Played well last year, I think, out there in France. The shot's just still so shaky, but everything else is there. The physique. I think he's got great defensive potential.
I think you just could bring him over. It's time. Why are we babying this guy?
Yeah, if you never play, you know how good it is.
Who's to say they're never going to play him? They didn't play anybody this year. As far as I'm concerned, the bench is wide open.
I'm all for it. if they want to do that. But shout out to Athletic Greens. Big reason we're making trips like these. Great sponsors like athleticgreens.com/garden. So please support them. Do we still have T-shirts? I'll shout it out anyway.
Yeah, we still have T-shirts.
Send a receipt if you go get Athletic Greens or any one of our sponsors today. Factor Meals, FanDuel, you're going to get a Garden Report shirt. And man, do I like the look of it. I wish we had one, Jimmy.
I know. I think Nick's going to make us go over to the headquarters. That's his way of
CLNS headquarters.
Yeah, CLNS headquarters. Which I'll do because I need to get my hands on one of those shirts this summer, dude. I still rock the phenomenal one, but I need the team shirt.
All right, well, that's coming up this week. any day stuff could break. It feels like there's been new news rumors every day, so I'll be ready to go. Obviously, I'll do some news hits over on Celtics All Access if it's smaller stuff. And live show coming up. We're going live Thursday. NBA draft, probably the whole way through, at least me and John. Maybe Jimmy will pop in. Maybe Joe
There's
Slade will
zero
pop in.
chance you're gonna do live for the whole NBA draft.
Yeah, once beginning and when the Celtics are picking, at least. So expect that.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
All right, thanks for stopping by, Jimmy. Lots of good stuff tonight. We'll see what the Celtics do. I honestly have no clue, and
We don't. Should be interesting. Keeping us guessing.
we'll see what happens. Jaylen extension imminent.
Yep.
July 1st, we'll know. Only a couple weeks till that date.
Maybe
so
some fireworks, as Wick said famously a few years back.
No Wick, huh? We haven't heard from Wick.
Wick is in hiding right now. I don't know what's going on with Wick.
Normally we hear from him this time of year. He's either
He'll pop up soon. He'll end up on a radio show or something.
Yeah.
Did some soft toss questions just tossed his way.
Not on here. If Wick ever comes on here, I can't wait to see that day.
Oh, that would be unbelievable. We have to start. We'll tell him about the GoFundMe that we tried to start for him because we think he's poor manager.
All right, that's
Just kidding, Wick.
See you guys. We'll talk to you later this week.